Dimly lit archive room. Flickering projector light casts shadows on stacked manuscripts and dusty tapes labeled Classified, S. Hawking, Final Interviews. A low hum of an old reel-to-reel recorder builds tension. In the shadowed vaults of Cambridge University, a forgotten cassette tape lay buried for decades, sealed away after Stephen Hawking's death in 2018. Recorded in his final months, this suppressed interview transcript reveals a physicist's desperate bid to unveil the multiverse's darkest secret. Not just infinite worlds, but a consciousness that defies oblivion. Why was it hidden? What forbidden equations did Hawking chase that could shatter our grasp on death itself? Cut to archival footage of Hawking in his wheelchair, eyes piercing the camera, overlaid with quantum equations swirling like cosmic storms. Hawking wasn't just the man who unlocked black holes. He was the 20th century genius born in 1942, struck by ALS at 21, who rewrote the cosmos from a body that betrayed him. By the 1980s, his A Brief History of Time made him a global icon, blending rigorous science with profound wonder. Yet, in his later years, amid battles with illness and institutional scrutiny, Hawking pursued ideas too radical for mainstream physics. Colleagues whispered of unpublished papers dismissed as speculative excess, tucked into locked drawers to protect his legacy from ridicule. This lost recording, unearthed only recently from a private collection, exposes why. It bridges quantum mechanics to the ultimate taboo, life beyond death. #meta. Pause. Sex. 1.5. Slow zoom into a holographic model of bubbling universes, colors shifting from serene blue to ominous red, evoking branching realities. At the heart of this revelation lies Hawking's multiverse, a mathematical fortress he built with unrelenting logic. Drawing from quantum, use. Sex. 1.5. Drawing from quantum field theory and the Big Bang's inflationary frenzy, he posited that our universe is but one bubble in an eternal foam of realities. Collaborating with Thomas Hertog in 2010, they refined the Hartle-Hawking no-boundary proposal into a blueprint for infinite domains. Each bubble, born from quantum fluctuations in the vacuum, forges its own laws, gravity weaker in one, time looping in another. Hawking's equations demanded it, not as whimsy, but as inevitable. The multiverse isn't optional, he implied in the tape, his synthesized voice crackling with intensity. It's the only way the math closes. Imagine worlds where your choices splinter. In one, Hawking walks unaided. In another, humanity never evolves. These aren't fables. They're probabilistic offspring of the same quantum rules governing atoms in your lab. Hawking hunted their echoes in the cosmic microwave background, faint scars from bubble collisions like ripples in primordial soup. If detected, they'd confirm we're adrift in a sea of alternates, our reality just one fragile droplet. #meta. Pause. Sex. 1.5. Eerie dissolve to neural networks pulsing like stars, intercut with Hawking's contemplative gaze, building psychological dread. But Hawking's probe delved deeper into the psyche's fragile core. Quantum superposition, where particles hover in multiple states until observed, haunted him. Why stop at subatomic scales? In this suppressed dialogue, he wrestles with the implication. Consciousness itself might entangle across branches. If the universe is quantum, the transcript reconstructs his words, then so is the mind observing it. This sparked philosophical fissures, doubts about a singular self, echoes of unpublished notes where he questioned reality's illusionary veil. Death, in this lens, isn't erasure but decoherence. The observers collapse into one path, while infinite versions persist elsewhere. The tension mounts. Are we ghosts haunting our own multiverse, forever fracturing yet enduring? Here, voices from the fringes amplify the intrigue. Biologist Robert Lanza, echoing Hawking's quantum foundations in his biocentrism framework, argues consciousness isn't brain-bound, it's the architect of reality. In Lanza's view, drawn from experiments blending biology and quantum observation, death mimics a phase shift. Your awareness tunnels to a parallel where the body endures. Neurobiologist Stuart Hameroff and physicist Roger Penrose push further with orchestrated objective reduction, proposing microtubules in neurons host quantum computations that survive bodily ruin, migrating to aligned worlds. Hawking, in the tape, nods to these allies obliquely, his tone laced with suppressed excitement. The equations permit it, consciousness as an eternal wanderer. Sex 1.5. Yet one unspoken thread in Hawking's hidden musings lingers like a quantum ghost. What if black hole horizons, those event boundaries he mastered, mirror death's threshold? In a speculative leap aligned with his information paradox resolutions, consciousness might evade singularity not by vanishing, but by imprinting across multiversal horizons, re-emerging in a reality where the you that died never falters, a perpetual reboot in the code of existence. Fade to black, with a single echoing question mark superimposed over a starry void, Hawking's silhouette dissolving into infinity. As the tape ends abruptly, cut off mid-equation, Hawking leaves us teetering on the brink. If death is merely a doorway to another you, what choices in this life truly matter when infinity awaits? Dimly lit archive room, shadows dancing across dusty shelves lined with forbidden manuscripts. A voiceover begins, urgent and hushed, as if whispering from a concealed recording. In the shadowed vaults of Cambridge University, a forgotten cassette tape lay buried for decades. Stephen Hawking's suppressed interview from 1985, locked away after it challenged the foundations of physics and philosophy. What if the brilliant mind that unlocked black holes held a final secret, that death is not the end, but a quantum gateway to infinite realities? This lost recording, deemed too controversial, reveals Hawking's hidden doubts about consciousness, a revelation that could rewrite our understanding of existence. Sex 1.5. Hawking in his wheelchair, gazing at the stars, intercut with flickering quantum simulations. Stephen Hawking, the iconic physicist whose theories on black holes and the universe's origins captivated the world, lived a life confined by ALS, yet boundless in intellect. Born in 1942, he defied medical predictions, surviving far beyond expectations to become a symbol of human resilience. But beneath his public persona lay private philosophical turmoil. In the mid-1980s, amid his groundbreaking work on cosmology, Hawking confided in select colleagues about ideas too radical for mainstream science. These thoughts, captured in a now resurfaced private dialogue, were sidelined, perhaps suppressed, due to their implications for reality itself. Why hide them? Because they blurred the line between physics and the soul, suggesting that what we call death is merely an illusion born of limited perception. Quantum wave visuals ripple across the screen, morphing into neural networks firing in the brain. At the heart of Hawking's concealed revelations was a radical reinterpretation of reality. He argued that the universe we observe isn't an objective stage, but a construct shaped by consciousness. Drawing from quantum mechanics, the field he revolutionized, Hawking posited that particles exist in superposition, embodying multiple states until observed. Extend this to life, and our existence fragments across infinite parallel universes. Death, in this view, isn't annihilation, it's a shift. When the body fails in one reality, consciousness seamlessly transitions to another, where the timeline diverges, preserving the self in an unbroken continuum. Hawking's voice on the tape, strained yet resolute, echoes this. Our perceived world collapses not from physical decay, but from a change in observational perspective. Traditional biology reduces us to carbon-based machines, but Hawking saw deeper, consciousness as the true architect, unbound by the frail vessel of flesh. Slow zoom into a holographic model of the brain intertwined with cosmic voids, building psychological tension. This core insight plunged Hawking into existential depths, fueling his private wrestlings with mortality. As a scientist grappling with his own impending end, he expanded on how quantum entanglement might entwine mind and matter. Influenced by collaborators like biologist Robert Lanza's bioentrism, Hawking explored how observation collapses probabilities, making reality participatory. Neurobiologist Stuart Hameroff and physicist Roger Penrose's orchestrated objective reduction theory resonated with him. Their idea that consciousness arises from quantum computations in microtubules within neurons. Hawking pondered, if the brain's quantum processes generate awareness, then death disrupts the body, but not the underlying quantum information. This led to profound psychological intrigue. What hidden doubts did Hawking harbor about his legacy? Did he fear that his mind, trapped in a decaying form, might echo eternally in unseen dimensions? His suppressed notes reveal a man haunted by the illusion of finality, urging a reevaluation of self as observer and observed, forever altering our grasp on inner worlds and the void beyond. Evoking a speculative leap as ethereal particles drift into an infinite staircase graphic. Building on these quantum foundations, Hawking speculated further in his overlooked manuscripts. Perhaps consciousness persists through the holographic principle he championed, encoding itself on the event horizon of reality itself, like information escaping a black hole, never truly lost. After death, it might recompose in fractal patterns across multiverses, experiencing time not linearly, but as an eternal now, glimpsing truths our embodied senses can't fathom. Hawking's synthesized voice, leaving an air of unresolved mystery. In this forbidden archive of ideas, Hawking leaves us on the precipice. If consciousness endures beyond the stars he mapped, what undiscovered realms await, and are we brave enough to observe them? In the shadowed vaults of Cambridge University archives, a forgotten cassette tape gathers dust, recorded in 1985, just as Stephen Hawking's voice was beginning to be synthesized by technology. Labeled simply Hawking, Private Reflections on the Infinite, it was sealed away by his collaborators, deemed too provocative, too disruptive to the rigid paradigms of cosmology. Whispers among his inner circle suggest it captures Hawking grappling with the unthinkable. What if consciousness isn't confined to the dying brain, but echoes eternally in the quantum fabric he spent his life unraveling? This lost recording, suppressed for decades, challenges everything we thought we knew about the man who stared into black holes, and perhaps saw beyond them. Stephen Hawking, the brilliant physicist whose wheelchair-bound form belied a mind that pierced the veil of the universe, lived from 1942 to 2018, a life marked by relentless pursuit of cosmic truths amid his battle with ALS. Born in Oxford, he rose to fame with a brief history of time, blending general relativity with quantum mechanics to probe the origins of existence. Yet beneath his public persona as the voice of scientific certainty lay private doubts, philosophical fissures he rarely voiced. This hidden material, overlooked amid the frenzy of his celebrity and the ethical constraints on his health disclosures, emerges now as a testament to Hawking's unspoken fears, the terror of oblivion for a mind that had already outlived its vessel. Why was it buried? Insiders hint at pressure from academic gatekeepers, wary that Hawking's late-night musings on consciousness and mortality might blur the line between empirical science and the esoteric, risking his legacy as the era's greatest rationalist. At the heart of this suppressed transcript lies a core revelation, pieced together from Hawking's fragmented notes and verbal improvisations during that clandestine session. He posits the brain not as a classical machine, but as a quantum orchestrator, where microtubules, those nanoscale structures within neurons, host orchestrated objective reductions, or ORC-OR, a theory he quietly endorsed in correspondence with collaborators like Stuart Hameroff and Roger Penrose. In this framework, consciousness arises not from mere electrical firings, but from quantum computations that entangle the observer with the observed universe. Hawking, ever the skeptic turned explorer, suggested that what we call the soul is no ethereal ghost, but an indestructible packet of quantum information, encoded patterns persisting beyond biological decay. Drawing from his work on black hole entropy, he speculated that this informational essence, much like the event horizon's secrets, escapes total erasure, implying life after death as a natural quantum handover, not divine intervention. The universe, he reconstructed musings reveal, abhors an information void. Consciousness must recycle, lest the cosmos forget itself. This quantum lens expands into profound philosophical terrain, heightening the existential dread that haunted Hawking's final years. As his body failed, he pondered the illusion of self. If consciousness is software running on the brain's quantum hardware, what happens when the machine shuts down? Echoing ancient traditions without invoking mysticism, Hawking's hidden reflections align with spiritual insights on the soul's journey, entering the material realm to harvest experiential data, then ascending to a non-local realm. Yet he infused it with psychological intrigue, questioning the terror of detachment. The clinical death experiences reported by thousands, where awareness hovers, untethered, as if the quantum batteries of memory demand fuller charging before release. Hameroff, the anesthesiologist who shadowed these ideas, corroborated in joint sketches that near-death visions of tunnels and light aren't hallucinations but informational conduits, quantum tunnels funneling essence back to the universal substrate. Penrose, Hawking's intellectual foil, added layers through their relic radiation analyses, uncovering concentric anomalies in the cosmic microwave background, ripples from pre-Big Bang epochs, hinting at a consciousness predating creation itself. For Hawking, this wasn't fantasy. It was the psyche's confrontation with infinity, where death unmasks the brain's role as a temporary filter, distorting our true, entangled nature. The tension builds. If reality is a holographic projection, as Hawking's black hole paradoxes suggest, then personal extinction feels like a cruel edit in an unending script, leaving one to wonder, did his own mind, trapped yet transcendent, foresee its persistence? Building on these threads, an additional layer emerges from Hawking's unpublished manuscripts, a speculative bridge he never fully articulated, but which aligns with his multiverse musings. Imagine consciousness post-death, not as stasis, but as a fractal rebirth, splintering into parallel quantum branches where every unlived possibility unfolds, ensuring no fragment of awareness ever truly ends, eternal recursion in the void. As the tape's final words fade, Hawking's synthesized voice trailing into static, one question lingers, unanswerable yet insistent. If the architect of our cosmic story glimpsed his own immortality, what hidden doors remain locked in the archive of the universe? Dimly lit archive room, shadows dancing across dusty shelves lined with forgotten manuscripts. A grainy, flickering hologram projects the image of Stephen Hawking, his synthesized voice echoing faintly from a suppressed recording dated 2017. In the shadowed vaults of Cambridge University, a reel of magnetic tape lay buried for decades, sealed away after Stephen Hawking's death in 2018. Labeled simply, Unpublished Reflections, Quantum Veil, this lost interview fragment was deemed too provocative, too disruptive to the legacy of the man who unraveled black holes and the fabric of time. What if Hawking, the physicist who stared into the abyss of the universe, had glimpsed something beyond? A hidden truth about consciousness slipping between worlds, suppressed to protect the boundaries of accepted science. Hawking in his wheelchair, eyes piercing the camera, the hum of his voice synthesizer underscoring the gravity of his words. Slow zoom on a quantum diagram scribbled in his unmistakable hand. Hashtag, exclamation point, at meta, quote, pause. Stephen Hawking was no stranger to the impossible. Born in 1942, he defied a diagnosis of ALS that should have claimed him in his 20s, living to 76 as the most brilliant mind since Einstein. His public work on black holes and cosmology painted a universe of infinite possibilities, parallel realities branching like the roots of a cosmic tree. But why was this material hidden? Insiders whisper of pressure from academic gatekeepers in the late 1980s, when Hawking's explorations veered from pure physics into the uncharted territory of the mind. Overlooked amid his best-selling books and media stardom, these notes and recordings were filed away, dismissed as philosophical musings unfit for peer review. Yet in them, Hawking grappled with a question that haunted his final years. Could consciousness itself be the bridge to other realities? Animated visuals depict quantum foam bubbling into multiverse fractals, intercut with Hawking's face, contemplative. At the heart of Hawking's suppressed revelations lies a radical proposition, one that echoes the wild frontiers of theoretical physics. No matter the model of parallel universes, be it the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics or the inflationary bubbles of cosmic expansion, one inescapable query emerges. Is it possible for consciousness to reach across the divide? In the realm of science fiction, we envision gateways forged from exotic matter or wormholes twisted through space-time. But Hawking, drawing from his collaborations with minds like Roger Penrose, hinted at something far more intimate. He speculated that the key resides not in machines, but in the very essence of awareness, the quantum dance within our brains. Hawking's voice, reconstructed from that forbidden tape, resonates with quiet intensity. We have always assumed the mind is confined to this timeline, this branch. But what if it's not? What if every decision forks not just the universe, but the self? On one side, serene neural networks firing like stars. On the other, shadowy figures in dreamlike states, overlapping realities. This core insight builds on ideas Hawking explored privately with biologist Robert Lanza and neurobiologist Stuart Hameroff. Lanza's biocentrism theory posits that life and consciousness shape reality itself, not the other way around, suggesting our minds might entangle with alternate versions during moments of profound altered perception. Hameroff, partnering with Penrose on the ORC-OR model, proposed that consciousness arises from quantum computations in microtubules deep within neurons, fragile bridges that could, in theory, resonate across multiversal frequencies. 1.5, Hawking took this further in his hidden manuscript, weaving in the subtle anomalies of human experience. He pondered lucid dreams not as mere brain glitches, but as fleeting rendezvous with parallel selves, echoes of lives unlived, bleeding through the veil. Sudden déjà vu? A glitch in the matrix of realities where your consciousness momentarily syncs with another you. And those eerie sensations of reliving a moment? Brief intrusions from a neighboring branch where the paths diverged just slightly. Imagine, Hawking urged in those overlooked pages, training the mind to navigate these slips deliberately, not through portals or teleporters, but through disciplined focus, meditation refined by quantum insight. He drew parallels to ancient wisdom, not as mysticism, but as prescient metaphors. The Tibetan Bardo practices, for instance, describe intermediate states between death and rebirth as realms of choice, akin to quantum superpositions where consciousness selects its next trajectory. Ancient shamans' tales of spirit walks? Perhaps intuitive accounts of multiversal entanglement, long before equations could map them. Slow dissolve to Hawking's study at night, rain pattering against the window, his computer screen glowing with unfinished equations. Tension builds with a low, pulsating drone. Yet this pursuit deepened Hawking's existential unease, a psychological undercurrent threading through his suppressed work. Confined to his body, his mind roamed freer than most, questioning not just the stars, but the self. He wrestled with doubts that pierced the heart of his atheism. If consciousness can touch other realities, what becomes of it at death? The black hole information paradox, his lifelong riddle, mirrored his inner turmoil. Does awareness evaporate into nothingness, or persist in encoded forms across the cosmos? In these hidden transcripts, Hawking's tone shifts from clinical curiosity to raw introspection, revealing a man haunted by the fragility of thought. The universe, he reflected, may be a hall of mirrors, but we are the light that reflects, or dims, within. This philosophical expansion uncovers layers of intrigue. Could suppressing such ideas stem from fear? Fear that proving conscious contact with parallels would shatter our isolation, forcing us to confront infinite versions of our regrets, our unlived potentials. Hawking's notes pulse with this tension, urging a reevaluation of reality's boundaries, where science and the psyche entwine in a dance as precarious as a quantum wave. Ethereal consciousness orb fracturing into multiple paths, then reforming. Soft, speculative music underscores. Pushing beyond his documented musings, Hawking's framework invites a chilling speculation. If consciousness endures as quantum information, unbound by the body's decay, might it migrate to parallel realms post-mortem? Not reincarnation in the spiritual sense, but a probabilistic rebirth, your essence scattering like Hawking radiation, reassembling in a universe where choices aligned differently. A hidden continuity, defying the finality of death. Hashtag exclamation point at meta quote pause quote colon quote sex quote colon 1.5. Hawking's synthesized voice fading out. The real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. Screen lingers on the sealed archive box. As the dust settles on these forbidden archives, one question lingers like a quantum uncertainty. If Hawking pierced the veil to other worlds, what truths about our own reality have we yet to uncover, and at what cost to the illusion of a singular self?